Sweet Life football fans. I am Jack, and there is no Cody today. Where is Cody? Well, we each put together our own individual final 2025 mock drafts in preparation for the NFL draft, which is tonight. We're both super excited for. And we wanted to get together and both get on a video here and show you guys our mock drafts that we had made, but had some technical difficulties. So we're still going to push forward, strive forward, roll with the punches. And I'm here with mine today. Cody's going to have his own post up later, and we're going to make it work. So I think this is going to be a really fun chance, a fun video if you're a fan of the NFL and maybe you only know some big names like Abdul Carter and Cam Ward and Travis Hunter, right? But if you're a fan of the NFL and your team drafts Joe Schmo with the 22nd pick, this could be a nice chance for you to learn about some other players, see some highlights from them, just get a little bit of description from them and kind of understand what you're going to be getting your hands on. So this is a fun little pre-draft show that is also very much a predictive mock draft for me. I do have a good feeling about some of these picks, but where some players are going to fall based on analysis and mock drafts and talking heads and all that sort. So without further ado, let's just jump right in here as we got the Tennessee Titans on the clock with the first overall pick, and I have them selecting quarterback Cam Ward for Miami. This is the pick that everybody's got on their mock drafts. The Titans are just up against a wall right now. They need a quarterback, and Cam Ward in a weaker quarterback class seems to kind of flash plays of Brett Favre and really Carson Wentz. I see a lot of Carson Wentz in his game, both the good and the bad, with this hero ball mentality. But I don't think that really matters if you're the Titans, right? You're in a weaker division. You're in a winnable division, right? You have the Jags and the Colts to play, each twice a year, which both very beatable teams. And, even though the Texans are kind of the leader of that squad in that division, they've shown that they're beatable. C.J. Stroud coming off a sophomore slump. I think Tennessee is just, like I said, has their back against the wall, and why not go with a guy who finishes a top 4 finalist in the Heisman race? I think Cam Ward is a very fun prospect. Is he the most polished? No, but I don't think there's any other player that you take number 1 overall in this draft if you're the Tennessee Titans. As we move on, pick number 2, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter. And let me tell you guys, I did not believe in unicorns until I watched Colorado football last season, okay? And he wears number 12. This man could play cornerback. He could play wide receiver. And I think if the Browns do draft him here at number 2 overall, he's going to be playing wide receiver for them. You pick up Joe Flacco in the offseason, and you've shown that you can make it to the playoffs in a solid, deep little playoff run if you're the Browns with someone like Joe Flacco. Well, you lost some playmakers. You lost Nick Chubb. Yeah, you have Jerry Jeudy, but how excited are you really about that? If you get a guy like Travis Hunter to be a real playmaker for you that you can lean on, set up screens for him, get him in motion behind the line of scrimmage, this could be dirty. Okay, this could be dirty for him. This could be a great pick, and just for any of the kind of haters out there, oh, Travis Hunter is not really wide receiver, whatever. He ranked 68.8% on contested catches by PFF, which is the second best in the Power 4. 68.8%. That is insane. And people might be thinking, oh, that's not that far off from a 50-50 ball, 50% contested catch rate. That's not really real. Okay, people say 50-50 ball, and they just imagine that it's one-on-one coverage, that, oh, if you put me out there against Derwin James, it's one-on-one coverage, I'm throwing you a 50-50 ball. No, that is a 95-5 ball, okay? That is Derwin James going up, mossing me, eating my lunch, and running the ball in for a pick six, okay? 50-50 balls are not always 50-50 balls, and for Travis Hunter to have a 68.8% 50-50 ball, that is insane. I think Travis Hunter's got to be the best player in the draft, if not the second best player in the draft, who we'll get to down the board. And that's why I have him selecting here at number 2. Number 3, the New York Football Giants. What is going on? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. Abdul Carter seems to be the chalk pick here, and that is very much in play, but the Giants are kind of in a rebuild mode. I think that they showed that they were in a rebuild mode when they benched Daniel Jones last season, and they are not a good football team. I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan, but I have spoken to Giants fans that are willing and ready and able to admit that they are not a good football team. And when you have the 3rd overall pick in a weak class like this, you have a lot of leverage to trade this pick if you're willing to listen to the phone ringing and hear the phone is ringing and there is an animal in trouble in the Carolina Panthers, who move up to take Penn State's Abdul Carter at number 3. The Giants pass on him to acknowledge their rebuild woes and the many holes that they have to fill. I don't think that Abdul Carter just immediately makes the Giants a competing team, right? Okay, they signed Russell Wilson, right? They have a destroyed offensive line other than Andrew Thomas. And if there's any team that's willing to trade up to the number 3rd overall spot here, I think it is Carolina. They had the worst defense in the NFL last year. Like the actual 32nd ranked defense. They allowed 61 touchdowns. That is insane. And it just makes sense. They're the most desperate for defensive players. Why not trade up with a team that you have trade history with from the Brian Burns trade? Go up and get your guy. I could just see him in blue and black. I don't know. Maybe it's the Penn State thing. And maybe it's just because I'm lower on Abdul Carter. I don't know. I still like Abdul Carter as a player, but if I were the Giants, I don't take him at 3. I trade back down to pick number 8 and get a haul in return, and I think this works out for both people here. We move on to pick number 4, the New England Patriots. I have them selecting offensive tackle Armand Membu. I've seen Will Campbell here. I think that also makes sense. I've also heard that there's rumors of a trade down here. You know, is a team going to want to trade up for Ashton Jeanty? I have them just sticking and picking because there's no telling that Will Campbell or Armand Membu is going to be back there with whatever team they end up trading with, whether it's a team like the Bears or there's just no knowing whether or not they're going to be able to get their tackle, which they need. I know that they did address right tackle a little bit in free agency, but Armand Membu is just a freak of nature. He ran the second fastest 40 at the NFL Combine and had the highest broad jump at 9 feet and 7 inches. 9 feet and 7 inches. Okay, that is insane for a man that is 6'3", 330 pounds. Offensive linemen just don't do that. He has insane twitch. I think you need to give Drake May a little bit of breathing room going into his sophomore year. And yes, just because he plays right tackle doesn't mean that he can't compete with someone like Cole Strange, boom at guard if he earns that spot. So I have them going with the upside pick here of Membu over someone like Will Campbell, although like both prospects a lot. Moving on to pick number 5 here. Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Tetaroa McMillan. Yeah, I know Mason Graham's right here. You're probably staring at him. A lot of people also seem to think Jeanty could be a pick here. He just keeps climbing up draft boards, and I love it for Jeanty, but you already have Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. Like, I know Etienne hasn't been everything you wanted, but he's also had some injuries. And I think you kind of just gotta help Trev out a little bit. Not that Jeanty doesn't help Trevor out, but you lose Christian Kirk. You lose some playmakers. You lose your tight end as well. Let's get another offensive piece here who is getting comps to Mike Evans for good reason. Obviously, they're both 6'6". Tyrone McMillan's 212, a little bit lighter than Mike Evans, but Mike Evans, known for having how many 1,000-plus yard receiving seasons. I think he's on his like 10th in a row now or something. He's up there with like Jerry Rice in that regard. Well, Tedderell McMillan, in the last 3 seasons at Arizona, he has had 1,300 receiving yards or more. So, if he wasn't getting enough comparisons to Mike Evans, there you go. I think he immediately steps in as that wide receiver 2 role and could be a great compliment to Brian Thomas Jr. We're going to move on here to pick number 6 for the Las Vegas Raiders, the silver and black here. And I have him going with Ashton Jeanty. Do you really want to hand the ball off to Zamir White? Probably not. Jeanty is probably the best player in this draft. If it's not Travis Hunter, I believe it's Jeanty. And the only man to rush for more yards in a college football season than this guy is Barry Sanders. If you don't know who Barry Sanders is, go look him up. He ended up being a pretty damn good football player. Jeanty is just a monster. He has elite contact balance. You don't even see him truck guys as much as you just see people like fall off him. Like they're just failed tackles. Like he doesn't care that, a linebacker that's, 240 is jumping at his ankles because he just pushes through every tackle. It is insane. It's become the chalk pick, but I think it's become the chalk pick for a reason. Pete Carroll loves to run the ball. He's the new head coach there. I think this establishes that identity to help Geno Smith out a little bit as well. So move on to pick number 7 here. The New York Jets select not offensive line. I have him going Tyler Warren here. Who could still help you on that offensive line. He is not afraid to block, and he's actually taken snaps on the offensive line before, which is insane. Not to mention he's taken snaps in the slot and even taken snaps at quarterback. Okay, this dude is like Taysom Hill. He's like a Swiss Army knife for your offense. And he's just a football player, dude. At the end of the day, he's just a freaking football player. Penn State fans know that more than anybody. He led their team with touchdowns last season. And the Jets need playmakers. They got Justin Fields right now. I don't think many people are really excited about that. And I also don't think that it really matters if you draft an offensive lineman here because Justin Fields is probably going to run out of a clean pocket anyway. Let's be real. So the least he could do is get him someone to throw the ball to here. And Tyler Warren, I think he's another one of the best players in this draft. He goes at number 7. Number 8, the Giants are on the clock because they traded down with the Panthers. And I have them selecting Will Campbell from LSU, who kind of, I don't want to say fell, but sort of fell here to pick number 8. A team like the Jets or the Patriots could have took him, and he slides a little bit and goes to number 8. He has a lot of upside in his versatility on the offensive line. He's played guard, he's played tackle, and for a Giants offensive line that needs help everywhere, Will Campbell gives you a lot of flexibility to start to patch that up. I think this is the Evan Neal medicine for Giants fans out there. I know it's like saying Voldemort, right? But this could be the start of something new, to quote High School Musical, right? This could be the beginning, okay? I think that the Giants are ready to sort of punt this year and just say, we don't care. We know we're not a good team. We know we're probably going to lose a lot of games with Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, whoever ends up starting. Let's at least kind of start to prepare for the future for whoever our franchise guy is and rebuild this freaking offensive line and just keep it safe, please. I think Shador could be interesting here at 8, but like I said, for that reason that I just mentioned, I think they're kind of just willing and ready to punt this season. I don't think that they would take Shador here because they need so many more pieces than quarterback, right? And I think they need to build around the quarterback. So pick number 9 here, the Saints, they get Shador Sanders at pick number 9 here. The Giants don't take him. The Jets don't take him. You don't have to trade up for him, and he's right here. I think in this scenario, you kind of just get your guy. What's going to happen with Derek Carr? He might not even be healthy enough to start this next season. Spencer Rattler did not work out. And out of all the quarterback-needy teams, I think the Saints is like not one of the worst ones. You have Chris Olave there. the guy you could throw to. You still have Alvin Kamara, even though he's getting old. You still have Alvin Kamara there. He kind of help you out a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just because he wears the black and silver. Maybe it's because he's getting high-end comps to, Drew Brees, which is obviously insane. He's not Drew Brees. But I think he fits the archetype of a Drew Brees, right? That not the biggest arm, but very accurate passer with the football. Has very nice touch. And I think that even though Cam Ward is the sexy quarterback pick in this class, it's not a question of is Shador more accurate than Cam. He is more accurate. He doesn't have the arm, and he doesn't have the improvisational ability, throw on the run skills that Ward has. But if Shador can keep calm and cool and get a decent offensive line, he knows how to put the ball in the money, and I think that is decent value here at number 9 for the Saints who really need a quarterback. So moving on to pick number 10 here. The Chicago Bears select a falling Mason Graham. He could have went as high as number 5 to the Jags, in my opinion, but he sits right here. Obviously, Ben Johnson's probably staring at Omar and Hampton in this spot because, the whole Lions running back mentality, right? Tough, hard-nosed football. Let's run the ball. And Omar and Hampton is certainly in play here, but I feel like you just got to take BPA here. And if Mason Graham falls and he's right in front of you, you just pick him up. He's all bruised from falling down this far. You give him a couple Band-Aids. You say, all right, welcome to Chicago. We need some depth on defensive line anyway. And Graham's a beast, man. He had 38 hurries. 38 hurries in his past 2 seasons combined at Michigan. And he's also just a really good block shedding, run defending defensive tackle, right? Even though he has all those hurries, he really falls into that archetype of someone who could see ball, get ball on the defensive line. And I think that's very important in a division with the Bears, with the Lions, the Packers. Josh Jacobs running all over, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Get a guy that could see them and stop them. I think this kind of works out for the Bears here. Pick number 11, the San Francisco 49ers. I have him going Walter Nolan here from Ole Miss. And I don't even know where you're supposed to go if you're the 49ers, honestly. There are 20 holes. You let everyone go in free agency because of your cap hell that you're going through right now. Javon Hargrave, gone. Deebo Samuel, gone. Trey Greenlaw, gone. Malik Collins, gone. And one of your starting cornerbacks, Charvarius Ward, gone. That's insane. I really don't know where to go if you're the 49ers. Do you trade back? Do you take a corner? Do you help your offensive line? Do you go edge and not interior defensive line? They've ranked in the bottom 10 teams in the NFL last year in rushing defense. That's why I could see him going Walter Nolan here, kind of act as a speed bump for opposing rushers and just start to fix that roster a little bit here. Moving on to number 12 here, pick number 12, Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. I have them selecting wide receiver Matthew Golden from Texas, one of my favorite players in this whole draft. Before the combine, mind you. Go back. We have it on recording at Sweet Life here. Before the combine, I was high on Matthew Golden, and he was already one of my guys. But the fact that he ran a 4.29, fastest 40 at the combine this year, is insane. I don't care the stupid thing that you're going to hear on draft night and that draft analysts have been talking about nonstop with this guy is, oh yeah, he ran 4.29, but he doesn't really play 4.29. I don't care. Okay, he gets open, and just to know that he has that in his back pocket to pull out 4.29 speed at any time, yeah, I'll take it. I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna acknowledge it. He just gets open. He is one of the most reliable wide receivers in this draft. I think he has the possibility to be the first wide receiver taken off the board because of that in this draft. I know the Cowboys lost legendary offensive lineman Zach Martin, so this could be the chance for this random Jerry Jones pick of, everyone's excited to see are the Cowboys going to draft Omari and Hampton? Is it going to be Matthew Golden? What's it going to be? And then they just draft Gray Zabel or something. not that there's anything wrong with crazy, but they just draft like some random guard, and everyone's like, oh, okay, and they go back to sipping on their beer, having conversation because they just took a boring pick, right? But the Cowboys have needed a wide receiver 2 for years, and Matthew Golden just happens to wear number 2. I love the pick for them. Well, I really hate it for them as an Eagles fan, and I love Matthew Golden. So, but this would be great for them. So, moving on to pick number 13 here, have the Dolphins going with another Texas Longhorn in Kelvin Banks Jr. They need to keep Tua alive. If he takes any more hits, I'll be convinced that they're gonna be ready to move on from him. Frankly, I know that. Is Jalen Ramsey being moved? Is he being traded? Do you go cornerback here? I think you can, but God, right now you're going to have Liam Eichenberg starting at right guard. That's not going to be good for you. No offense to the Notre Dame alum, but that's not going to be good for Tua. And you need to keep Tua on his feet now. Him getting hits, not good for his motor skills or his mental health or his physical health. So, even though Kelvin Banks played tackle all 3 years at Texas, you could easily convert him to guard. He has nice enough feet, moves his feet very well. I think he has enough athleticism where you could push him inside a little bit and keep the Miami quarterback on his feet a little bit here. Move on to pick number 14, Indianapolis Colts selecting tight end, Colston Loveland. Everyone has him going tight end here. Tyler Warren went off the board a little early, so you could pick up Colston Loveland here at pick number 14. Shane Steichen, the head coach, used to be on the Philadelphia Eagles as an offensive coordinator, and he loved using Dallas Goedert in that offense. I think adding another pass catcher like Loveland also takes away any excuses for Anthony Richardson to not succeed. Obviously, his health does that too, but this is just another pass catcher for him. Another reason for him to succeed in this league in a winnable division. As we move on here to pick number 15, I had the Falcons select a falling Jalen Walker here. Not that I'm lower on Walker, but everyone seems to think he's going to go top 10, and he obviously can. Team like the Panthers, if they don't trade up for Abdul Carter like I have them here, maybe they swing on someone like Jalen Walker. He is a multi-role linebacker where, the Falcons need an edge. Jalen Walker has taken snaps on the defensive line at edge, but I don't think he's going to be able to bully and rush off the edge the way that he did in college in the NFL right off rip. The difference in talent and size and weight is just much different. Even if he can't do that, though, and he needs to develop as an edge rusher a little bit, he could easily contribute in the box or even as a Mike linebacker, which I really like for a team like the Falcons, who I don't think have had a notable linebacker in years. I'm trying to think of linebackers for the Falcons, and I'm just at a loss. They've needed linebackers forever. Last year, they already took the shocking pick, right? They took Michael Penix. This year, I think they stick to the script, take a position of need. Jalen Walker falls to you. Take him and move on. Let's move on. Pick number 16 here for the Cardinals. I have him going Will Johnson here. Another team, kind of like the 49ers, so many holes. Where do you go? I think you kind of just swing on best player available. Johnson, he's coming off that foot injury. That's something to know for this player. He's coming off a foot injury, and he did not test at the Combine or at his pro day. A lot of these guys, if they don't test at the Combine, maybe they don't get invited, maybe they're going through an injury, they at least set up their pro day and they'll work out, they'll run some routes, they'll run their own 40 and make themselves look really good. Johnson didn't even do that. So that is a little bit of a question mark. It's a little bit of something to note about this player if he goes to a team that you're a fan of, to just keep that in your back pocket. But he has insane upside. This is a ball-hawking zone cornerback who could easily compete for the number 2 role here next to Sean Murphy-Bunting in Arizona. I think the Michigan teammate for Johnson, Kenneth Grant, could also be a tempting pick here at pick number 16, just something to note, but I have him going Will Johnson here. Move on to number 17, the Cincinnati Bengals. I have them going defense. They need defense so bad. I have them going Malachi Starks from University of Georgia. Cincinnati, their defense was so bad last year. If you watched any Cincinnati Bengals game last year, you know how bad it was. They averaged 25.5 points allowed per game last season. That means every single time that you put your helmet on and you suited up on offense against the Bengals, you were scoring at least 25.5 points. That is insane. Joe Shiesty cannot pull you out of those situations every single week. Can he do it sometimes? Is he a very skilled, gifted quarterback that could carry his team sometimes? Yes. But geez, I mean, sometimes Jamar Chase gets tired. Get these guys off the field a little bit. Imagine what Joe Shiesty and Jamar Chase could do for you when they're not dying of thirst because they're on the field all the time. Get a playmaker like Malachi Starks, if not the second best safety in this draft, I think the best safety in this draft. An insane resume from 2023, slightly down year last year, but this AFC North is a tough division and a defensive-heavy division. You need some playmakers on defense. I think they miss Jesse Bates a little bit. I think they've kind of been going through that breakup of Jesse Bates, like just drunk texting him, drunk calling him, we need a safety, where are you, we miss you. Well, now you get a rebound here with Malachi Starks. We move on here to pick number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. I haven't gone Shamar Stewart, and I'm going to tell you why. I think they need offensive line incredibly bad, especially after picking up Sam Darnold. You are going to need to help him on the offensive line. That's one of the reasons why he succeeded in Minnesota, because their offensive line was better than the Carolina Panthers when he was there. It was better than the Jets when he was on the Jets. But the Seahawks GM, John Schneider, allegedly never takes offensive line this high and has said ad nauseum that he does not do it. Could it be a smokescreen? Maybe. Maybe they just go and draft Gray Zabel here, who they probably should take. But if they don't, and they don't want to take offensive linemen this high in the draft, maybe they trade back, or maybe they swing on the upside player of a Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart, to me, is the biggest question mark in this draft. If you don't take anything else away from this video, take that away. Shamar Stewart is a question mark. He is easily one of the most athletic defensive ends in this draft. He ran a 4.59 at the combine and has a 40-inch vertical jump that flashes enormous upside. He didn't have that much production at Texas A&M, though. I think it was somewhere along the ballpark of he had like 5 sacks in the last 4 years or something. Sacks aren't everything, I know. But when you have an athlete like Shamar Stewart, sometimes you have to take a chance on him. I think he could be that ball of clay for Seattle here to kind of mold into a play diagnosing, run stopping defensive edge here for you. So moving on to pick number 19 here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them selecting Mike Green, another player that you're kind of going to want to keep track of where he goes in the draft, because he has some off the field issues and they are not pretty. He led college football in sacks last year. Just phenomenal production, 17 sacks last season at Marshall. But he has some baggage, and it is dirty baggage. He originally played at Virginia a few seasons ago, and he had some sexual allegations, which were not good, to the point where he got basically kicked out of Virginia and went to Marshall. And then he leads college football in sacks. And now the allegations are allegedly coming back. Some more people are coming out. I don't know. These are all allegations. I'm not vilifying the guy. But it's something to keep track of. And he might be the Jalen Carter of this class because of that. He's going to fall. This is a player that could go in the top 10. Probably should go on paper in the top 10. But what is he doing off the field? He needs to clean it up. And if any team could gamble on him, I think a Todd Bowles team that loves to blitz, that already has a solid defense, that has a good roster offensively, that is already a playoff team, you're allowed to kind of gamble this 19th pick. Say, okay, Mike Green looks like an animal. If he comes in and gets us 17 sacks next year and becomes a dog for us on that defensive line alongside Levante David, Vita Vea, then hell yeah. And if not, well, at least we still have a good team. I think you're allowed to gamble here if you're Todd Bowles in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We move on. Pick number 20 here. The Denver Broncos. I have him picking up Omarion Hampton. He's not going to fall anymore. And this is the match made in heaven. Okay. Not only does Omarion Hampton fall into that Kamara-esque catching the ball out of the backfield type of running back, but Sean Payton needs a running back right now. You have Jaleel McLaughlin as your starting running back in Denver. That's not gonna fly. Okay. Last year they tried to do this running back by committee thing where they had Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime and Javonte Williams, and they were all just each splitting carries, just drawing straws for who gets to run the ball. I don't think that Sean Payton wanted to do that as much as he had to do that with the players that he had in that locker room. Omarion Hampton is an immediate upgrade. He is just awesome. He's easily the second best running back in this draft. He breaks tackles. He has insane speed. I'm not going to spend too much time on this pick because he's just an awesome player, and the fit works out perfectly for them. Move on to pick number 21. Pittsburgh Steelers. Are they going to go quarterback? What are they going to do here at pick 21? Where is Aaron Rodgers? Is he in a dark hole somewhere doing a darkness retreat? I don't know. I have him making one of the most Steeler picks ever with Kenneth Grant. Yes. What are you doing? It's not Jackson Dart. It's not Jade Barron. We also need a corner too, right? Well, I don't think that you need a corner, right? I think you could definitely use a corner, but you got Joey Porter Jr., right? You just picked up Darius Slay, who doesn't seem to age, okay? Coming from an Eagles fan, he has been a baller forever. He just hasn't regressed. And I think they're waiting out on Aaron Rodgers. And when you look at your defensive line, Cameron Hayward, he's not going to play forever. He's getting old, okay? Yes, I know he technically plays edge. Kenneth Grant's technically a defensive tackle, but the defense they run, really you have Highsmith and Watt as your edge players, right? So Kenneth Grant could come in and kind of learn under Hayward and make an impact in the depth of that defensive line. It just seems like such a Steeler pick to me. You just go in the trenches, you take a defensive player, you say, we'll get quarterback down the board. We'll gamble on someone like Milroe down the board or a Will Howard, or try and figure out the Aaron Rodgers situation. Move forward to pick number 22 here. The Chargers. I have them going with Emeka Egbuka here. They need weapons, and Jim Harbaugh might have gotten sniped in this mock draft here. He might have wanted the tight end, Colston Loveland from Michigan, his Michigan man. Maybe he even wanted Kenneth Grant, the pick taken at pick number 21, right before this pick that the Steelers got. Another Michigan man on the defensive line. They need help defensively. But everyone seems to think that Harbaugh's only going to draft Michigan players. The people that he knows. He knows Emeka Egbuka. Okay, he has had to play him numerous times in the Big Ten. This is a guy that he knows how good of a route runner he is. He knows the impact that he can make on a roster with Quentin Johnston out wide, right? I'm trying to talk smack on Quentin Johnston here. And I know you have Ladd McConkey, right? Oh, we already have Ladd McConkey. Just because Ladd McConkey got a ton of fantasy points for you last year does not mean that he's a great offensive player. He touches the ball a lot, yes. He touches the ball a lot in the slot for them. But you need a vertical route running wide receiver, and you get that with someone like an Emeka Egbuka. Herbert needs help. The hypothetical memes are hilarious. Hypothetically, Herbert would be a top 5 QB, hypothetically, whatever. Cut the hypotheticals. Let's get him some offensive pieces and try and make that a reality. Move on to pick number 23 here, the Green Bay Packers. I'm friends with some Packers buddies. Cody already knows my pick here. Curious to see what some of them think about this pick here. Jade Barron's still on the board here, falling to you. Where do you go? I have him going with Trey Amos, cornerback from Ole Miss. And I'm going to tell you why. I think that the Packers could go wide receiver, right? I think Packers fans want wide receiver, I think they probably also want a corner. There's also the chance that Gutekunst just drafts someone like a Micah Williams if he falls this far, because they just draft like those edges and outside linebackers when they fall, right? But Jair Alexander's banged up. Is he gonna? Is he? Isn't he gonna become? Isn't he gonna come back, get re-signed, whatever? I think you just need someone to come in anyway because you can't trust Alexander to play a full season for you. And I think there's a potential that Jahdae Barron, the Texas corner, falls because there are questions about him being able to play outside in man coverage, where Packers love to run man coverage. And even though Jahdae Barron is 5'11" and falls into that Jair Alexander frame of 5'10", Trey Amos, who has much more experience in man coverage than Jahdae Barron, is also 6'1" and falls more into that Eric Stokes frame that the Packers might kind of be moving into that cornerback type of build, right? To put it poorly, it's not really a good way to explain that, but I think that they just know the guys that they want. Trey Amos just feels like the Packer pick, almost like a reach, but not a reach. But he's gonna be an impact player, but he's not. I think it just makes sense. And while Jahdae Barron is in play, I think it's also a chance that Jahdae falls. He reminds me of Cooper DeJean falling out of the first round last season, right? So we'll see what happens with him. We move on to pick number 24. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock. They only have 4 picks in this draft. 4 picks. That is insane. I think they pick up the phone here and trade down with a team that needs a player that's falling here. And I have the Buffalo Bills trading out to pick number 24 to take the Crimson Tide linebacker Jahad Campbell. The Bills need edge and they need linebackers. Lucky for you, Jahad Campbell could do both. Okay, and I think he's really good off the ball. He has 30 coverage stops as a linebacker. He had 30 coverage stops. That is unheard of for a linebacker. This is like Fred Warner-esque. Okay, not immediately comparing him to Fred Warner, but you need someone to drop back. Buffalo, you need someone to drop back, and Jahad has also played edge. He has experience at edge. He is fast, 4.52 speed at the combine, which borderline high 4.4s. This is a sideline to sideline speed linebacker. He's one of my favorite players in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the top 15 picks of the draft, honestly. He just has that high of an upside where if he starts to fall, a team's going to trade up for him, and I have the Bills trading up for him here. Pick number 25, Houston Texans. I have him selecting Gray Zabel here. What the hell are you doing, Houston? I mean, geez. You need offensive line more than a fish needs water. Honestly, you let Laramie Tunsil go, one of the best tackles in the game for some reason, and you traded Kenyon Green, your guard, who Kenyon Green wasn't that good to begin with, but I mean, now you have no one. So what do? Gray Zabel has thankfully played every position on the offensive line at North Dakota State. He's played center. He's played guard. He's played tackle. Put him where you need him. Figure it out. I don't really have much more to say than that, but you just have to start to figure it out. Take an offensive lineman here and start to rebuild that. You got to keep C.J. Stroud alive in his junior year in the NFL. You cannot have him running for his life and second guessing his ability to win in this league. Protect the man, please. Figure it out. Pick number 26. I have the LA Rams here, saving the falling Jahdae Barron from Texas, the alleged nickel-only corner. He's taking snaps at safety. He drops back in deep zones. He could play in the box for you. And regardless of his size at 5'11", he has taken snaps out wide in man coverage for Texas. Just because NFL scouts don't think that he could do it in the NFL, he has done it in college. He has that in his resume. And I see strokes of Cooper DeJean. I could see this being the steal of the draft if he decides to fall. And I think this is the perfect home for him. The Sean McVay, exotic zone-centric defenses where I think Barron can thrive in those zone defenses. He's versatile. You could put him in different spots. He could just sneak around in those zones and be a playmaker for you, right? He could be a very lurky type of DB. And I think this is just the perfect fit. I'm not going to let him slide any further as we move on to pick number 27. Baltimore Ravens, I have him selecting the DE Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College. one of my favorite players in the draft again here. It seems like the Ravens just always get good players that fall to them. They never have to trade up. They just get good players fall to them. Kyle Hamilton, for example, just boom. One of the hyped up players in the draft just falls to him. Boom. Donovan Ezeraku, second most productive defensive edge in college football last year, you could say, with the second most sacks, right behind Mike Green, who we mentioned earlier, right? And production is his middle name. He's had 23 or more hurries on the quarterback in his last 3 seasons as well. So not only is he sacking the quarterback, he's scaring him. I really like Donovan Ezeraku. He just feels like a Raven to me. He's one of my favorite defensive edges in the draft, and that's where I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting here at 27. We move on to pick number 28 here. A little bit of a different pick here, so bear with me. You know, there's players on the board here like Carson Schwessinger, which I feel like is just a lion, or really a princely Uman Mielen, the edge from Ole Miss. He screams Detroit Lion to me. I could see them taking either player here and reaching, right? They're never afraid to reach in the draft. But there's a player falling here that I think that they could take a chance on, and I'm going to have him taking Luther Burden, the third, the wide receiver from Missouri. Do you need a wide receiver here? No. The Lions have Jameson Williams. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Their passing game is fine, right? But Luther Burden III is just insane. And with a player that is as tough as he is plays hard-nosed, Deebo Samuel-esque, tough yards after the catch football. If you were to show me Dan Campbell's big board, his top-ranked wide receivers, right, he might have Travis Hunter ranked number 1 because he's Travis Hunter, right? But I think he's got Luther Burden III at 2, regardless of any whispers of him being a diva at Missouri, which, is there even any evidence of that? I don't know, but the Lions are also not afraid of divas and colorful wide receivers with Jameson Williams, who is just a character among, in and of himself. But Luther Burden here, he has insane yak potential. He averaged 6.1 yards after contact last season. That is stupid. If you're the Detroit Lions, were already in the Super Bowl run the past 2 seasons. And one of the reasons why you fell out of that run is because you have wide receivers dropping the ball in the playoffs. Your third wide receiver right now is Tim Patrick, who's made some plays for you last season, but he's 31. He's not going to be there forever. And just imagine an offense with Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams stretching the field with elite speed, Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot picking apart zone coverage, and Luther Burden III just running around behind the line of scrimmage in motion. It doesn't even matter if Jared Goff's your quarterback. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is. Just, you're going to have someone open. This could happen. If no one trades up for him, I could see them taking Luther Burden here if he falls. Moving on to pick number 29, Washington Commanders. I think they have to go edge here. I have him going Mykal Williams. And this could probably be too far down the board for him. This is a player that can go in the top 15 as well. He has a lot of hype, very lengthy defensive edge, which I think works out for the Commanders here. They're in the NFC East. They need to worry about guys like Saquon Barkley, Tyrone Tracy, these guys that can run on the outside, and Mykal Williams is that block shedding type of run stopping defensive edge, long arms that could help you out in that division. On a team where you need an edge, I think they almost take a page out of the Howie Roseman, Georgia defensive edge book here, kind of the NFC East team. Everyone's expecting the Eagles to be that team to take a Georgia edge. I think the Commanders kind of snipe them a little bit and get a good edge here. Move on to pick number 30. This should be the Bills pick, but the Vikings traded up. And I think that if you're the Vikings here, you already have a good offensive line. You have J.J. McCarthy starting for you here this year. Coming off an injury, let's draft someone to kind of take some pressure off him in a Travion Henderson from Ohio State. I think 3 running backs could easily go off the board tonight in the first round of the draft. J.J. McCarthy coming off a torn meniscus. That's not a fun injury. Let's take some pressure off of him. Running the ball was already an identity for the Vikings. It's going to be even more of an identity now to try and get some of that pressure off McCarthy. And Aaron Jones is 31. Okay? He's 31 years old. And he's also proven that he can't always stay healthy. You need to secure a running back here, I think. I know that you picked up the former 49ers running back in Jordan Mason in the offseason, but another guy who can't stay healthy. Travion Henderson is a home run hitting running back, 4.43 speed. He's just one of the most well-rounded running backs in this draft, honestly. You look at someone like a Caleb Johnson from Iowa, right? Running back. Okay, yeah, he could put his shoulder down and make you truck, but he's not that fast. Okay, same thing with Cam Skattebo, right? Cam Skattebo's tough. He's going to break tackles for you. He's good in the backfield at catching balls, but again, not super, super fast. Not really going to juke a guy out. Travion Henderson can press any button on the controller. For anyone that's played Madden, he could press the B button. He could press the Y button, and he could catch the ball in the backfield. I like the pick there for him. It's this low in the draft where you could swing on a running back, and I think the Vikings very easily could here. Pick number 31, Kansas City Chiefs. They just need to go offensive line here. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. Go Birds. Belt to ass in the Super Bowl, right? But I think defensive line's also in play here. Let's keep it a buck. People watch the Super Bowl and just say, oh, yeah, they had pass rush. The pass rush the Eagles had was just eating them alive. Their offensive line was so bad, right? They also had Joe Thuney, who is a guard playing tackle because of injuries for them. So that didn't help. And they had no pass rush against the Eagles either. Okay, so there are multiple holes for this Chiefs team, especially in the trenches. I think that Josh Connerly is a good enough prospect, though, especially a pass protecting prospect coming out of Oregon. He only allowed 2 sacks in his last 3 years at Oregon. That's awesome. I think this is really good value for the Chiefs that need help there on the offensive line. Plus, Connerly, I like his thought process. I like his attitude. He is a really great prospect that decided to play all 3 years at Oregon. He could have transferred. He could have found a better team or a different team. All these NIL guys jumping around. I like Josh Connerly for sticking and staying with his team here. Josh Connerly at pick number 31 of the Chiefs here is great value. As we have the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles at pick 32, the best pick to have in the draft. I have them addressing the offensive line here, and they get Tyler Booker from Alabama here. I know it says O-line there, but this is really strictly a guard, and I think that is exactly what the Eagles need. A lot of people might be thinking, oh, Howie Roseman, he's the GM guru. He's going to take a Georgia player. He's obsessed with Georgia players. He's going to trade up and make some sort of blockbuster trade and get an edge or draft the Georgia player. Yes, that is 1,000% in the cards, okay? Never count anything out with Howie Roseman, right? But if you do stick and pick here like I have them doing in this scenario, you got to be happy to see Tyler Booker here. And I think people also forget, yeah, Howie Roseman has an infatuation with Georgia Bulldogs, but he also has had an infatuation with guys from the Crimson Tide. Devontae Smith, Tyler Steen, an offensive lineman, Landon Dickerson, another offensive lineman, and obviously Jalen Hurts. Booker is just an insane power guard at 6'5", 325. And we lost Mekhi Becton. I know we also lost Milton Williams. We lost some guys on that defensive line. Brandon Graham is gone. There are a couple spots that he could go here, but the trenches just feels like the Eagles pick. I don't want to say I'd be surprised if they go anywhere else, but that would be one of the intriguing picks if they decide to swing on someone like a Nick Eamon-Warrior safety or trade up for a Georgia Bulldog like Mike Williams or Malachi Starks. It's in the cards, but I have them going Tyler Booker here, and that is going to be my predictive mock draft. Let's see how many I get right here, boys. This is the first year of Sweet Life. This is the first year I'm doing this. I love following the draft. I love analyzing draft prospects. And if we can get some accurate picks here, some accurate positional picks, maybe we hit on a trade. I know the Abdul Carter one is insane, but I'm trying to get my my percentage up here, get my accurate percentage up here. My QBR, if you will. So let's see. I'm hyped for the draft tonight. Hopefully, you guys got something out of this video. You got to see some highlights of players you might not have known, get some stats from players you might not have known, and hey, maybe there's a guy that you saw in this video that you hope that your team takes if you didn't already know about him. So that's going to be it for me, guys. Have fun tonight. Enjoy the draft, and I'll talk to you guys soon.